So here we are, last day of 2024. It's 53 degrees, sitting out here in the sun, drinking my root beer. Old Jay brought me a root beer. Drinking some root beer, just contemplating the making of this next video. Going to be our comparison of the stock manifold to the full tilt. So, anywho, we'll get on with it.
Damn it, where the hell's that new guy, Jose? He said he was gonna go get some root beer. Yeah, root beer. I love some root beer. Hey, bro, I got the root beer. What? Did you bring the root beer? Hey, where'd he go? Where's the root beer? Root beer, yeah! Have some root beer.
Here's the dyno setup. It's a Power Test 25X08, 1983 vintage, with a yourdyno.com ultimate controller, and we've got that hooked up to an old MXS Caterpillar, about 950,000 miles. We're talking to it with a 70 pin because that's the files I need to write, but the engine has not been a part that I'm aware of. It is has no IVAs, and it has been outfitted with 955 injectors. Other than that, it's stock compression. The turbo that we're running is an old C18 compressor section. I think it's an 85 millimeter 10 blade titanium, and its hot side is 141 AR GT50 from Detroit, I do believe. Anyway, then the full tilt manifold with some added instrumentation for this test. That's basically it. It's the files has around 12 millimeters, I think, of rack, and it makes between 815 and 820, something like that. So, all right, well, that's just a quick overview. Not everybody has seen all these things in these videos. Sometimes new guys will watch a video, hadn't seen the whole setup before. This is the operator station for the dyno / karaoke. Yeah, so we're gonna head and switch over to the video where we actually look at the data. Alrighty, on to the next one. Okay, so here we are, screen recording. I'm gonna start with torque. So here's the torque between the two. The red line is the stock manifold. The green line is the full tilt. Even though you see some difference in here, it's basically the same. I mean, we're talking, even with the biggest gaps, we're talking 2,100 foot-pounds versus 2,126. I think that's within the margin of error of the dyno. Let's go to horsepower. I'm going to save the best to last. Well, usually horsepower is the best, but this isn't a horsepower test. So this is horsepower. Let me click the maximum. So let me do them one at a time. The full tilt actually did make a little more horsepower. 816 horsepower with the stock manifold. The full tilt made 819.6, so 820. 5 horsepower, there again, that's within probably the margin of error. When we did this with the like 500-600 horsepower engine, there was no difference at all. But it does make a difference with 800. So let's pull this up, and let me go to let's look at boost and drive pressure real quick. Okay, so drive pressure, I'm not terribly confident in because of all this waviness. The running exhaust into a pressure sensor is it's kind of sketchy. This one looks nice. This is actually the stock manifold's drive pressure. You know, it looks like it maxed out about 38.5 pounds and then came down, and once it crossed over at 1,868 RPM. I don't think the full tilt manifold was really that much lower, because what happens is it starts off lower and then it ends up higher, and I don't really think that's true. It could be. I mean, there is a consistent gap, and 25.18 for the stock, 25.99 for the full tilt. So full tilt. It is possible that once you get into the lower engine RPM, that the stock one may have less back pressure. Either way, it's marginal, okay? So here's our boost pressure. The full tilt, maybe it made a couple extra pounds. Well, 33.06 versus 32.67. All right, a half a pound. Okay, so basically, look at these and you say, they're pretty much the same. And I'd agree with you, and that's what I've always said. There ain't much to gain. And just so you know, I'm not a full tilt dealer. I don't have anything for them or against them. It is what it is. So no one's paying for these results. It's just something I did on my own. And let's finally pull out the main difference here. You may have already peeked and saw this, but there's the proof in the pudding right there. There's your stock manifold, 1,327 degrees at 1974 RPM. That was the peak. And the full tilt peaked at 1256 at 1953. So definitely the peak temperatures were way, way different. I mean, we're talking, that's 70 couple degrees, I guess. I'm not going to do math on the fly here, and I didn't do it ahead of time. This is where they get closest. We're at 1219 for the full tilt and 1267 for the stock manifold. So there's definitely, and for those of us, those of you, who are pushing these engines right to the brink, 70 degrees on your exhaust temperature is a big difference, because you can make a lot of horsepower with 70 degrees of cushion. It's interesting that as you slowed down in RPM, the gap did increase again. Like here at 1400, the stock manifold was 1317 degrees, and the full tilt was 1236. So that's pretty good. You'd almost wouldn't expect, as the RPMs got lower, that the spread would get wider. But I have my theory on that. I think that the turbo actually spins a little harder at low RPM without the manifold being the restriction. So interesting. So that's about it. So I don't know what full tilt claims as far as temperatures lower. But I would say that what we see here is probably well within a reasonable claim of, what the manufacturer has. Also, I'll say that the stock manifold was run without sleeves, so keep that in mind. If you had the sleeves in, I would say the temps would be hotter, I think. But anyway, so that's no sleeve compared to no sleeve. So, all right, we'll go ahead and that's pretty much it for the video. So, hope you enjoyed it. Let's see, Win Alt